Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you a bit about feature flags, just some of their benefits, drawbacks, different types of feature flags, and some tooling, and then I'll just show you a few different options for tooling so you can sort of see what's out there and get an idea of what you could use. So first, what are feature flags? So they're typically implemented as an if statement surrounding a piece of code that when on enables a particular feature or code change and when off executes the original code. So for example, if I wanted to check a performance improvement was working correctly, or if I wanted to be able to regularly merge to the trunk branch because I want to continuously deliver my code, then I would add a feature toggle around my new feature. Say it's for performance, I might go if performance improvement is on, where that boolean would come from whatever feature toggle management system I'm using. And then from there, if it was on, I'd execute my performance improvement, and if not, I'd execute the existing SQL query. So this sort of leads me on to what the benefits of a feature flag is. So one of the big things is that if you notice that the feature is not responding as you expected, you can actually quickly turn it off in live. And so it sort of is quickly resolved and doesn't escalate higher, and your users will be more satisfied with the timeliness of you handling an issue in live. Another thing is that you can experiment with variants of features. So I could have maybe I'm trying to change my color scheme and I've got like 2 or 3 different colors I want to choose. I might sort of see what users get more engaged depending on which variant they've got, and sort of use that data to make a decision rather than just go off whatever someone thinks. So another benefit, which I've actually already mentioned, is you can regularly merge code to the main master or trunk branch, even if the feature is not fully ready, because you can have that feature turned off until it's fully ready and the product manager is ready to release it. And the product managers can actually choose a time to go live that suits them, and it perhaps aligns with a marketing release, for example, if they want to do that. And they're not tied to the release schedules. It's just purely whenever it suits them and makes sense for the product to release that feature. You can also do some incremental releases of features to the user base, so you could sort of keep track of which users have been given a feature and allow them to use a feature and just slowly roll it out to more users. And that will just mean that if there's sort of a bit of backlash over a feature, you can sort of rethink it, rework it, and sort of not offend like a whole user group. You've just got a small amount of people who sort of give you that feedback prior to you doing a big bang rollout. There are also a few drawbacks of feature flags though. And one of these is that you actually need a process to remove the feature flags after a certain period of time. And you'll usually want to do that after you're confident the feature is working. If they're not removed, these feature flags become technical debt because they're sitting in the code and there's bits of code that aren't used, and it sort of overcomplicates it with these additional if statements. And if a feature doesn't work in live, sometimes there's less time pressure to fix the issue, as it can just be turned off so it doesn't cause issues. So no one's really noticing the problem, so no one's complaining. So sometimes the feature will take longer to reach completion when they've got feature flags if they've got an issue, because there'll be less motivation to drop what you're currently doing, solve that problem, and fix the actual feature that you're already meant to have gone live with. It's also always dependent on what that actual feature is and how important it is to the business. But yeah, I find that sometimes you can be less motivated to do the fix for the feature. Feature toggles can also increase complexity. So an example of this is if you've got a on feature inside an off feature. So your off feature is basically off, so it doesn't get inside to check that to check that feature, the next feature is on, so that on feature won't be available even though that flag is on, so it can be a bit confusing. You say you release something, but because it's inside an off feature flag, it's actually not released. It's not available to users, so that can complicate things a little bit. There are a few different types of feature flags, so the main type is just release flags. They enable continuous delivery by separating delivery of a feature from deployment of code. So basically, that's what I've described so far. It's the if this feature's on, then do this, otherwise that. And it just basically allows the feature to be turned on and off as required. So you can also have experiment toggles, and these ones give you multiple variants, and depending on the variant, then it will display like a different UI or something like that, and it allows you to gather data from the users and sort of make decisions based on that data rather than just assuming things about your user base. So it can be quite useful for fine-tuning things. And commonly in ops, you might have something like kill switches. So these are long-lived toggles. Most toggles are ideally short-lived, otherwise you're just adding some extra complexity to your code. And basically these are often used to turn off non-critical system features. So when a system comes under heavy load, for example, it will you can turn off some features to prioritize core system functionality so that the main user experience is not affected. So for example, if there's a report that consumes a lot of resources and you know there is a period of high load coming, such as payroll processing in the lead up to Christmas, you may choose to disable that report for the duration of the high load, and that's just so that the report is not run and consuming resources that would be better utilised for core system functionality. There are a number of tools that you can help you with your feature flag management. So for example, you can have feature toggle management systems. So you can custom build these, or there are actually some good open source options, and there are even some paid options if you can afford that. The payment costs vary quite widely, and I think it's just depending on how big your organization is as to what makes sense for you. And also there is an open source tool by Uber which is called Piranha, and that's useful for stale feature toggle refactoring. So basically it looks at refactoring stale feature toggles out of your code base. So here's a bit about the Piranha. So basically it's aims to target stale feature toggles and basically reduce the technical debt there. There's a few different options. It's got availability for Java, JavaScript, Objective-C and Swift, and it just does some static code analysis. And I've also found this really cool open source feature toggle management system. It's called Unleash, and you can actually run it in Docker and test it out yourself. There is paid versions as well, and those come with additional features like extra environments, and I think possibly some variants, or maybe, there's a few things that you would need to look at. So I'd recommend, if you're looking at Unleash, to run the Docker container version just locally. It shouldn't take long because it's a Docker container. Because if you go to the live demo, that's actually more of what you'd get if you paid for it. So it gives you different options, like you can disable in different environments, enable in different environments. You can specify your strategy. So say you want to roll it out to specific users, or you want to roll it out to everyone, so on or off. You can roll it out to a set of IPs, hosts. There's so many different options. And variance is basically used for when you are wanting to do like experimentals. So if you go configure, you can actually configure additional strategies, and you can actually code your own strategies and add parameters. and that's useful for if you want to sort of have, like, say if it's a particular company, I might want the feature on and so I can use that. There are some client SDKs which allow you to define the strategies in them. So they're available for quite a wide range of languages. So Go, Java, Node.js, PHP, Python, Ruby, Rust, .NET SDK, and there are even some front-end SDKs for quite a few. There's quite a few different options there as well. So I think Unleash is actually quite a good option if you're looking for open source and something you can run for free, although it is a bit limited. You can host it yourself. Launch Darkly is another popular one, but gets a bit pricey because it's about $8 per user per month. And then we've got Flagship, which looks a bit more for bigger organizations because you can have 15,000 monthly active users and it costs $175 a month. So yeah, it depends what you're looking for, but there are lots of different options out there, and it really makes it so much easier to do continuous integration and delivery if you've got feature flags in your code. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have, please like and subscribe for more content.